How's it going, guys? Nick's Tech World here, and today we're going to be taking a look at just a couple options that you guys can do to turn your normal Xbox Gears of War Kate Diaz limited edition controller into a slightly more customized version of itself, a little bit more elite-like, if you will. Stay tuned, guys, if you guys are interested. After the short intro, we're going to get into some of the little adjustments you can do to make your controller a little bit more customized. See you guys soon. All right, guys, welcome back. Now, getting right into it. One of the things that well, there are many things that I liked about the Gears of War 5 release and the console itself, the special edition console, this console right here, the limited edition, basically fully Gears 5. I forget if it has an actual name. I don't think it actually has a specialized name or anything like that, but basically the limited edition bundle that came with both the Kate Diaz controller that we're going to be talking about today and this console itself, the whole IC console with the Omen logo etched into cracked ice. Now, phenomenal look, and I absolutely like the look of both the console and the controller. But one thing, if you were a fan of how the release of Gears of War 4 went, now I'm saying the release in terms of accessories along with Gears of War 4, the fact that it did have a custom Xbox One S console with the Swarm scratch laser etching, all of that good stuff. And the special part was that it came with a customized, it was an optional accessory to purchase an Elite controller that was fully customized in Gears of War fashion, Gears of War 4 fashion, to match the console, equipped fully with the laser etching, the customized controller accessories like a customized D-pad, all that good stuff. And all that stuff is now notably absent from, or was notably absent from, the Gears of War 5 release. That's personally something that I actually called Microsoft about. I actually called, if there was something that when the game first came out, if there was something that they had plans for a release of a controller, and unfortunately no such luck. So I did end up getting the console, the limited edition console itself, because I am actually a very big Gears of War fan myself. That being said, whether you bought the console or the controller itself, a lot of people might be looking for a way to customize the controller slightly to make it more like an Elite controller, like a Gears of War version Elite controller. So this video mainly is meant to go over a few of the small little mods, and I'm talking very, very minute things that in my opinion make quite a bit of a difference in making this controller feel like a fully customized controller from Microsoft. Now, there is a little bit of work that goes into it. We're talking about a little bit of painting, a little bit of disassembly of the controller, reassembly. It's not anything too bad, and it's not something that is completely impossible. It just requires a little bit of disassembly of the main front plates of the controller, front and back plate of the controller. And with that, there's plenty of guides, like on ifixit.com, there's plenty of guides on there's only 5 screws that hold together the back of the controller when you remove the grips and the battery compartment. You can easily access those. But without getting too much into the actual hardware installation or taking that apart, I just want to basically show you guys what those components actually are. First, I'll basically show them on my controller as best as you could possibly see them. I'm going to keep it in the small windowed mode because I want to actually show you guys, the main point is where to get those components themselves and where to actually well, at least where, in my opinion, the best places to get them for the least amount of money is. But first, to begin with, the controller itself. If you can, I'm going to pull up an image of the actual controller as it was. A couple things that we can do here. Now, the main controller, we're not changing any of the color schemes. The whole point is to make the color layout the exact same as it was before, or as close as possible. Now, there are a couple things that we changed if you look at this controller. The first thing that we changed is the most obvious is the D-pad. It's no longer this stock just up, down, left, right D-pad that you see on the regular controller here on the screen. Instead, it is the multi-directional D-pad found in a regular Xbox Elite controller. Now, as you can see, it comes off magnetically. Underneath there is the magnetic strip, and if you can hear, it just clicks right back into place. I'm not sure if you heard that, but basically that is a pure hardware swap. Along with, if you guys noticed, on a regular Elite controller, and I will pull up the actual kit that you can get to get the actual components to do the hardware swap. This is the one that I used myself. I had a lot of different options that you could, basically that I had to work with. I could do a kit like this, or I actually had an Elite controller that I could disassemble and take parts from that. But I wanted to keep that whole, and I wanted to use that because I use that for my PC gaming. Anything that I need that requires the D-pad, so I didn't want to touch that. So basically what you can do is you can go on Amazon, and this kit, this Quartet Trade Elite kit for Xbox One Elite controller accessory kit, basically what this is it comes with a bunch of hardware pieces from an Elite controller. OEM quality component pieces, including, as you can see, all of these little pieces that have both types of D-pads and the magnetic piece, the magnetic what should I call this? A little plastic piece that has little magnets underneath it that attaches this metal component. You can see that it's bright green here. Now, you can definitely do that, but if you're a fan of the Gears of War 4 Elite controller, which I did own, and unfortunately, I ended up selling that controller, and now they're actually worth a lot more money, so I ended up not getting what people are selling it for now. But one of the things that I really loved about it was the attention to detail. One of the things is this green component right here that goes underneath the swappable D-pad. It actually had the same lettering and the same basically phrase that Carmine has on his chest piece in the game. And that phrase, the Grub Killer phrase, is literally on the actual piece right here, and it's in dark, basically swarm red, and this piece was a direct takeoff from a Gears of War 4 Elite controller. Now, that paired with these hardware components right here, that really made a slight little difference in terms of how customized this controller feels. Now, let me show you. So basically, this is the actual hardware kit, and these little tabs that I have open from eBay, this is just one of the other options. If you did want to get this, I also purchased one of these. This is just an extra set of these pieces right here. These little joystick, thumbstick bases. They're just metal bases. I just got an extra set of them just in case I messed up on the paint application. But we'll talk about the paint in a minute, but that's just something else you can get. That's just off of eBay, pretty cheap listing. This piece right here. So this piece is from an Elite controller, but it is specifically from the limited edition white Elite controller that I believe is actually still attainable. I think you can actually get the Elite controller. So you could theoretically just get one of the white Elite controllers and just use that as a donor unit, for example, and just use the exact Elite components from that OEM. But it is much cheaper to go along this way instead of spending pretty much $200 on an Elite controller. I think you can even find them for $150 nowadays. Not the limited edition one, but the the regular one. But without having to do that, you spend just shy of $30 to $35 on small components that you can now upgrade your controller with. So the reason why you get these is because these are a gray. They at least come to match the gray found on the original Kate Diaz limited controller. Now, that being said, it is a darker gray. So in real life, I don't know if you guys can tell, but this gray that's on the actual thumbsticks, and these are the actual ones pictured in this eBay page. As you can tell, I bought this item. And this actually is, these are actually the sticks that are installed. So they are a little bit darker gray than the pictures would actually seem. But that's the second upgrade. But underneath that, the trickiest part in my eyes was this part, this paint. So I went through about 4 or 5 different paints from Home Depot, from Lowe's, just trying to match as closely as I could to the blue. Now, as you can see on a regular Kate Diaz controller, if you pull up this, as you can see, let me try to get the better angle, this one. So right underneath these thumbsticks right here, you have gray, that gray, and then right underneath you have the same blue as you get on the triggers. Now that's the catch, because if you really want to get into it and make this feel like it was a release from the Coalition or release from Microsoft, you have to, as closely as possible, match these colors for it to look like it came out of a factory. It was a little tricky because most blues that you're going to get, and I'm telling you right now, that you're going to get, that look on the can at least, even taking the controller with you, that look like they match, are either going to have too much purple or are going to be a little bit too dark. That is those are the things that I ran into the most. The closest that I was able to get, and I think that I got it pretty spot on. It's not an exact match, but it is phenomenally close, and it requires much more inspection than normally would be afforded to these pieces on a normal use case to be able to spot the difference. So it's this right here. At Lowe's, they sell, and I'm sure at other places too, but Lowe's is just the place that I got mine from, but it's called True Blue from Krylon. So basically, this color, the main thing, it wasn't too dark. That was the main part of it, and that's the closest, like I said, that I can get it to match. But as you guys can see, if you guys can see well on this video, when you take off the actual thumbstick, everything is painted, even down to it's just quite literally just spraying over, and it's quite down to the actual holder for the controller, the little grooves, which is fine as long as you do 1 or 2 coats of it. If you do more than that, it's going to have a little bit of trouble getting the thumbstick on and off later on down the line, because it's not going to have the clearance in order for it to be able to clear as smoothly as possible. But just 1 or 2 coats and it goes right on, and you can use it like normal. But I actually love the look that it gives, because it does have this blue right here, but normally where it would be blue leading all the way up to the actual gray, you now have, because it's an Elite controller, you actually now have this shiny chrome right between the blue and the gray. So that's actually another little nifty piece that really adds to the overall effect of the controller, that customized feel of the controller. Now, I wasn't too worried about the actual grip pieces right back here, the actual rubberized grip piece here, because these already resemble an Elite controller. The only difference between this and a regular Elite controller, such as this right here, is the fact that, if you can see on the Elite controller, everything here is rubberized, including the outer parts that on this controller are not. If you can see the difference between these two. Now, a lot of the parts between, like I mentioned before, between an Elite controller and a regular Xbox controller, they're actually quite interchangeable. unfortunately, the parts that are not interchangeable, and something that I figured out by just trying over and over again and trying to figure out different ways to attach the pieces, are these rubberized grips. I tried to take off the ones from this controller and put on the ones from the Elite controller, but unfortunately, that does not fit whatsoever. So if you were thinking about eventually just instead of buying like the scuff grips or anything like that, those will not fit if they're meant for an Elite controller. So that being said, is there a point to all this? Not really. This is solely aesthetic, and yes, there are certain parts of an Elite controller that are missing. I know that. There are certain things like the locks for the hair trigger locks. That will give you a little bit less of a throw when you actually push the trigger. So performance things, yes, there are things that are missing, but there are also things that are present and stuff that actually makes the controller feel a lot better and actually makes me feel like it's something that Microsoft could have done from the get-go, or just released a special edition of this controller with an Elite version. Now, I don't know how much, from a business perspective, if that would have made them, you know, a lot more money or a lot less money, or they would have lost. I actually have no idea, and I don't presume to know how that would have affected, but what I do know is that as a Gears of War fan, and I know there is a huge community out there that are fans of the franchise, when Gears of War 4 came out, I got the console, the controller, both controllers, the additional controller. I got a lot of the merchandise that was available. Now, on this release, on Gears of War 5, I would have purchased the exact same thing again. Now, maybe I'm in the minority. Maybe there aren't a lot of people that would consider spending the extra $150 or $200 on custom components, and that's fine. But in my eyes, the creators of Gears of War and the way that they partner, the guys at the Coalition, the way that they partner with Microsoft in creating gorgeous, just drop dead beautiful consoles that have these laser etchings, that have these customized, let me put it this way, they are the top end of what I see manufacturer customizations go for consoles. So from that perspective, I just wish they would have released it, but I wanted to release this video just to show you guys that there are slight minor changes and not very expensive changes at all. We're talking 30 bucks here, $7 here, $3 here. We're not talking about expensive changes. We're just talking about little things you can do to make your regular controller feel a little bit more customized in Gears of War fashion. All right, guys, so let me know what you thought about this video, what you thought about this topic. Should Microsoft maybe have released their own version of an Elite controller inspired by Gears of War 5? Also, guys, if you have your own, if any of you guys have your own designs of an Elite inspired controller or a Gears of War 5 inspired custom Xbox controller, please let me know. That would be awesome. If you guys like this video, if you like this type of content, please consider leaving a like on the video, subscribing to my channel. Until next time, guys, Next Tech World out.